Hello, Mossman. My name is Phoebe Jobson, and I'm the naturopath at Nutmeg Naturopathy.
And I'm Lucy Bartlett, the chiropractor at Nomad Chiropractic.
And we are based on the Muse, just above Pennyroyal Cafe.
Opposite Mud, near Berklow.
Yes. So today our recording is going to be all about stress and the nervous system. And we think this is a pretty good time to be talking about this, as it's very full on out there. So firstly, we'll be discussing what stress is, how we can acknowledge when our bodies are in stress, because it may not necessarily be obvious. And then we'll be chatting about a couple of natural ways that we can help reduce our stress response. Because stress isn't all that bad, but it's knowing how to kind of control and manage our stress and kind of help our stress work for us instead of against us. So I'll get us started. So what is stress? So as I said before, stress isn't all doom and gloom. Stress is actually a really intelligent response, and it acts to motivate and sharpen our focus when we're faced with an immediate danger. So it kicks in what is called our sympathetic nervous system, or our fight-flight response. So if we're faced with an immediate danger, one of my irrational fears is a great white shark. If we're faced with that danger, we so intelligently kick into this fight-flight response, this sympathetic nervous system, and our body's pumped with cortisol, and we can act accordingly. So we can fight or flight, and hopefully we survive, and all is well. But the issue these days is, especially in this day and age, is we're often in this fight-flight response, this sympathetic dominant response for a lot of the day, because these immediate dangers or issues are popping up multiple times every single day, whether it's work deadlines, financial concerns, family issues, a pandemic. All these things are popping up, and that's keeping our fight-flight response alert. And then our other nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest response, this isn't able to function properly because our fight-flight is up. And we kind of say they're on like a pendulum. So when our fight-flight is up, our rest and digest, which enables us to function properly, mentally and physically, that's down. So that's what we're seeing more and more of these days, is that fight-flight, that kind of chronic stress being sustained for long periods of time. And that's when that stress response that was initially really intelligent, that's when that chronic stress can quickly become not such a great thing and affect basically every system in our body. So how can we acknowledge when our body's in stress?
All right, so some really simple ways for you to recognize that you might actually be in a fight or flight response. Your body will give you symptoms and signs, right? It might look like you're a highly strung person, or that you've had a sluggish digestive system. You might be hypersensitive to walking into a supermarket, let's say, because there's a lot of things going on. You might suffer from insomnia, you might get migraines or headaches. It will actually lower your tolerance to pain, so you might have a higher pain response. You could get a foggy brain, so poor concentration, poor memory. You can also end up with a bit of weight gain, neck tension, so on. And it is all because your sympathetic nervous system, it's going to dilate your pupils. So of course you're going to become more sensitive. You might end up with a bit of a dry mouth because it will change the production of saliva in your mouth, which is also the first part of your digestion. So it's going to change your digestion straight away. It'll change the peristalsis, so the movement of your intestines. So it will change your digestive system. It will increase your heart rate. So whether that feels like anxiety or heart palpitations, red flags aside, it'll change your heart rate. It'll change your respiratory rate. So you might breathe short and shallow breaths. It might be difficult for you to take a full breath. That's obviously going to change your energy levels as well. It'll increase the release of glucose. It'll obviously increase your cortisol levels. It will relax your bladder. So you might be that person who goes for a jog and has just noticed that you've tinkled a little bit. And it's because the tension of your bladder has changed. And another thing is it might actually change your libido. So really simple things, or simple ways for you to recognize that you might be in a little bit of fight or flight. And right now, who is sitting there with the tongue in the roof of their mouth?
Me, damn it.
So that's also a little stress response, okay? So basically we're coming at stress from a physical angle, a chemical angle, and an emotional angle.
Cool. So that's kind of a really basic overview of what stress is, that fight-flight response, getting away from that shark. And it's kind of chronically up these days. And then all these different ways that our body might be signaling to us that we are in this fight-flight response.
And it makes sense, right? Like all of those things happen because you need to get away from that tiger.
Yeah.
It's just that our tigers are different these days.
Yes. Yeah. So now we're going to get into the fun stuff and share a couple of our favourite tips on what we can be doing to support our nervous system, because stress is unavoidable. It's a part of our day. That's a fact. So it's not about saying don't stress. It's really annoying when people say that, and it's probably unrealistic because it is part of our day. So what can we be doing to kind of keep trying to tip that rest and digest response and lower that fight-flight response? So how we can control it throughout the day. So I'm going to be focusing on gut health, and Lucy's going to be chatting all about yes. Do you want me to get stuck into gut?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if any of you know a naturopath, you know we love to talk about the gut. It's all about the gut. So basically the gut, when we refer to our gut, it's our entire digestive tract. So everything from our mouth all the way down to our anus, and includes everything along the way and accessory organs as well. So that's what we refer to when we talk about the gut. And I don't know if you've heard this either, but often we refer to our gut as our second brain or the inner tube of life. And basically because our gut is involved in every single system in our body. So, and it's basically, our gut is integral to the functioning of every organ in our body and every system, every function. We're always looking at the gut. So if I'm treating a patient for whatever, I will always somehow support their gut as well. Sometimes it needs much more love, and other times it's just a little bit of gut support to make sure everything's running smoothly. And obviously our gut is responsible for the digestion of everything we're eating and absorption of all our nutrients as well. Which, as Lucy was saying, if we're in that fight-flight response, our digestive system, our gut, won't be able to function properly because we're running away from that tiger.
So you might have an alternation of constipation and diarrhea, because if you've lost the movement down through your intestines, you might get a backlog, and then for you to get rid of it, you've got a bit of constipation and then a follow through with a bit of diarrhea. So it's just a change in your bowel movements, basically.
Yes, because your body doesn't care about digesting your lunch if you're running away from that tiger.
Exactly.
So
all of that information is going to your arms and legs to get you away.
Yes, love it. So, and what I find fascinating is that heaps of studies are now being conducted in relation to our gut microbiome. So basically all the good and bad bacteria in our gut. Everyone has good and bad bacteria. Ideally, we want more good than bad. And studies are showing the relationship between that gut microbiome and our central nervous system, our brain and our nervous system functioning. So it's really cool that now they're saying basically our gut is vital to healthy brain functioning. And our gut, there's certain bacteria in our gut that directly affect our mood, our behaviours, our thoughts. There's certain species in our gut that help produce serotonin, which is our neurotransmitter, which keeps us happy. And there's also certain bacteria in our gut that helps promote GABA, which is our neurotransmitter that keeps us calm and relaxed. So we just need to support our gut is basically what I'm saying, because it's so important. And gut health is interesting, and there's supporting, say, Lucy's gut compared to my gut might be very different because everyone has a different gut microbiome. So gut support can be sometimes quite specific, and what Lucy needs may not be what I need for gut support. So I'm just going to talk about two broad gut support things that we can be doing, which I think would benefit basically everyone. So number one is eating prebiotic-rich foods, and similarly, foods high in resistant starch every day. And prebiotics and resistant starch, they feed the good bacteria that's already in our gut. So they promote the good guys in our gut and help them do what they need to do, basically. So prebiotic-rich foods are really high in foods like kiwi fruit, onion, garlic, leeks, oats, bananas, pomegranate, flaxseed. They're really awesome sources of prebiotic-rich foods. Legumes is another one, artichoke. So if I just rattled off a bunch of prebiotic-rich foods, if you're kind of hitting a few of them every day, awesome, you're feeding the good guys in your gut. And foods high in resistant starch as well. And often I see when people kind of want to go really low carb diet, they cut out all their beautiful resistant starch foods, which means they're not feeding their gut enough. They're not supporting their gut as much as they need to be. So foods high in resistant starch, bananas, but they're more unripe, and I don't find that very appetizing unless you chuck it in a smoothie. But we've got potatoes. Better yet, if you say you had roasted potatoes for dinner, sweet potato, white potato, I don't care. And if you have leftovers and you have it cold in a salad the next day, there's even higher resistant starch in those cold potatoes, which is super cool. Brown rice, oats again, and barley. So they're really nice sources of resistant starch foods. So yeah, if you ticked off a few of those foods, you know that you're feeding the good bacteria in your gut and helping that digestive system function properly, which we want to be doing if we're in that stress response. Our gut's going to need some more support and love. And secondly, with our gut is just helping our digestion, which, as Lucy said, can be one of the first things to go when we're running away from that tiger. We could be constipated, we could have diarrhea, you could feel you eat lunch and straight away you have to go to that bathroom. It's all kind of signs of potentially your fight-flight response. So I just talk about digestion because it's, if you might have the world's perfect diet, which I don't think there is one thing, but say you ate pure, organic, whole foods, amazing diet, if our digestion's not ticking away properly, we might have that sluggish gut that Lucy was talking about. Might be because we're in the stress response. All those beautiful foods and nutrients that we're eating every day won't be absorbed properly, which is such a waste. So there are a few really simple things that we can be doing every day to help support our digestion and help switch on our digestion. One of my favourites, and you may have heard this before, is starting your day with a nice glass of water and just a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar helps promote our digestive juices. It's kind of signalling to the body that, yo, I'm about to eat, and it's getting ready for your body to break down the foods that you've just eaten. Apple cider vinegar is also a prebiotic, so it's a win-win. And I like you're just starting your day with a glass of water as well, which is a good thing to do. Not a coffee. We can have that a bit later on. Yeah, no problem. From Berkelo Bakery. It's a shout out to you, Frankie. Also with digestion, just being kind of practicing mindful eating. And to me, that just means slowing down around mealtime and chewing our food. So it's really common to be racing from one task to the other, and you might be scoffing down your lunch in the car. You might even skip a meal because you're just so busy. And so firstly is just being mindful to eat, whatever works best for you. I'm a breakfast, lunch and dinner girl with snacks in between. Just remember to firstly eat your meals and also chew your food. So chewing pretty much starts off our entire digestion process. Actually, the sight and smell of food starts to kick off digestion, but that act of chewing, we actually have digestive enzymes in our saliva that starts breaking down the food straight away. So if we take 2 gulps and down the hatch, which I know Lucy and I are culprits of every now and then, our body doesn't really know that food's coming down. So ideally, Lucy, can you tell me, ideally, how many times we should be chewing every mouthful? I've put her on the spot here, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to say like 20.
At least 20, well done.
Oh, stop it.
At least 20. If you're up near 30, even better. Chew your food.
That was good.
Especially Lucy and myself. So we can start breaking down the food that's in our mouth. And then our stomach's also aware, the mouth's working, we're about to have some food to digest, basically. And also breathing. And Lucy's going to show you a cool breathing technique in a second. But that short, sharp, shallow breathing that Lucy was talking about earlier, That's a classic fight-flight response. So we're in that short, sharp, shallow breathing because we're running away from that tiger or that shark. And we're not taking nice, slow, deep breaths and getting that breath all the way down to our gut. So even if you have the most busy day, at least around meal time, just stop for a second and take a few really deep breaths that reach all the way down to your belly before you start eating. And again, that deep breath work is trying to help switch that brain from that sympathetic fight-flight response into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic response. Cool, so that's it on the gut. So prebiotic-rich foods high in resistant starch, we want to feed the good guys in our gut, and just thinking about some ways to help promote our digestion. Cool.
All right. So, like Phoebe was saying, in terms of your breathing, I'm just going to go through a little basic postural exercise with you to point out to you how the way that your spine sits will affect the way that you breathe. So, I'll take one step back. Okay, I'm going to go side on. So, let's put you into a crappy posture. So, roll your shoulders forward, drop your head forward, and slump right down. And so from this position, I want you to take a really deep breath in. And just pay attention to how that feels. Now, standing up straight, roll your shoulders back, head back over your shoulders, same thing. Really deep breath in. Can you feel the difference? Okay.
Yes.
You have to say that. Okay, I'm going to show you another thing to do with the range of motion that you might have. So it might be easier. No, I'll still do it this way. Okay, so same thing. Roll your shoulders forward, drop your whole gut forward, drop your head forward. Now from this position, I want you to turn and look over your left shoulder as far as you can and just see what you can see. I can just see you. All right, and then turn and look to your right. And see as far as you can see. Okay, now standing upright, shoulders back, head back over your shoulders, and turn your head and see how far you can see. Way further. And same back to the other side. Okay, so they're two really simple ways to demonstrate that your posture is going to massively impact your ability to breathe, your ability to even reverse park, let's be realistic. And part of the reason that that's so important is that the stimulation of your brain comes from the movement of your spine, or roughly 80 to 90% of it anyway. And equally, the most transformative thing that you can do for your brain is to get moving, so a bit of exercise. So what I thought I might show you is a really simple tool that you can do any day. I mean, aside from the fact that you should probably, especially if you're a corporate, I would be highly recommending you get a standing workstation, because normally those things are like a very lift, and you could, if you want to sit down, you can, but for the majority of the day, you're standing upright the way that our spine was designed to be. But let's say you've had to sit down on a Zoom call for 3 hours straight, and you're feeling tight, you're feeling like your breath's only coming down to here, you're getting tight in through the back of your neck, and maybe your jaw's starting to clench a little bit. Really simple way to help you unwind. And you have to bear with us, we've got a small space here, so I'm going to head over here. I'm going to put behind you.
Yep.
We're just going to turn the camera around.
I'm going to do this as smoothly as possible, everybody. Da, da, da.
And I'm here. Okay. So, simple thing that you can do every day. I recommend you do it for 10 minutes. This is a foam roller. It's thicker, a bit harder than your pool noodle. You can equally use a rolled up towel, but this baby came from Exogym, which is on Military Road down in Cremorne. Mention Nomad Chiro to the guys and they'll help you out. This one is 10 centimetres diameter, but you can get the bigger one that's 15. And it's 90 centimetres long. And I recommend this one just because I find it more comfortable. Keeping in mind, I'm not tall, so I fit on this pretty easily. If you're taller than 5 and a bit, then you might not fit. Okay, simples. All you have to do, can you see me?
Yeah.
I will put it on the ground, step over the top. I sit on the end of it, lie down back over the top. My head is still on it, but if you come off the edge, just chuck a pillow underneath your head. Arms out to the side. If I fit, drop your legs down if it's comfortable. 10 minutes. That is not a difficult task. But in the interim, before you go out and get yourself a foam roller from Exogym, you could also just do like a cat-cow kind of maneuver. So if the goal is to try and just get our spine moving, put yourself into all fours, like so. And I do it on a round of sort of 10-second cycle breathing. And all you want to do is breathe all the way in, and you end up being like a cat on a wire fence. So you're going to push your low back to the ceiling. So breathe in. And then as you breathe out, let your belly go floppy and drop your chest to the floor. You should feel a bit of a stretch in between your scapula. And I just do half a dozen rounds of that. Okay, easy. So, really simple way at the end of a day of sitting behind a desk, or even if you've gone out for a long jog or something like that, really simple way to calm your body down, get your breathing rhythm back on, and lower your stress response. Good track over here.
Cool.
All right.
So we've chatted about stress, our signals from our body. I spoke a lot about gut health, and Lucy did some awesome demonstrations of what you can do in relation to your posture health and your breathing. There's a bunch of other stuff that obviously we can be doing to help our stress response. We're not going to go through all of them today, but thinking about sleep. There's nutrition for stress, sunshine.
Going for a walk, spending time in nature, spending time with loved ones. Colleagues. Same. Yeah, even an interaction in a cafe, whether it's Emily down at Pennyroyal or Laura and Frank up at Berkelo. You know, it's the interactions that we have throughout the day, and just be present in that moment. And yeah,
especially in this crazy time that we're going through, you know, picking up the phone and calling someone that makes you feel good, and you can have a good talk, and that sense of community as well, helping to reduce our stress response. So yeah, there's heaps of stuff that we can be doing. We've mentioned a couple. If anyone's interested, if everyone has any questions, you can always, we're happy receiving emails, and if you have anything to ask us. Yeah. But I hope you're having a glorious day. Nice deep breaths, chew your food, jump on your foam roller.
I was going inside today. It's blowing again.
Little windy.
We can't put our signs out. It's a bit aggressive.
Thank you for having us, and we will see you guys again soon.
Bye.
Bye.